Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody who hear us. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I'd like to welcome everybody to this session because I think it's good for our community to have honest conversation about where we are as a people and where we need to go. Especially after the election of our new president. I refuse to say his name.
45.
But our new president, I think that we will be, for the next 4 years, under attack through institutions that were designed to protect our civil rights. They will be dismantled. So we will have to come together as a people and discuss how do we get through these next 4 years and how do we move forward and what we need to do as a people to even move forward after that. We had 8 years of a black president, and today the House voted to dismantle Obamacare.
Yes.
And to be honest, they were standing there to dismantle the history of a black man.
Yes.
Let's not sugarcoat what they're doing. They're taking the history away of the first black president.
Yeah.
So we have to be able to come together and find out what we need to do as a people. And the best way to do it is good communication and conversation and organizing. So I want to start. Each panelist, since we got so many panelists, I want y'all to take 1 minute. I know it's hard, but I want y'all to take 1 minute, introduce yourself, and let the people know a little bit about yourself. We're gonna start from Corey and work our way down.
Hi, my name is Corey Pegues. Thanks for having me. Damon, Mitch, I love you brothers. Jeff, me and Jeff go back.
Sir, absolutely.
Me and Jeff go back. Right before the hit song.
That's right.
But
Yes,
I'm just happy to be here to just give some knowledge, some of my expertise. I'm a retired executive in the NYPD, did 21 years. Also, I was in the military now. I'm a motivational speaker. I have a book out. I'm just happy to be here to lend my support to Mitch and Dane whenever they call me. These are my brothers. I charge a lot of money to be out, Jeff.
I
But
know that, man.
I drove all the way up here. I know, these are my boys, but we here.
Yeah.
Listen, we close the gap in
They'll
some
take us to
issues.
dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Good evening, good evening. My name is Principal Hooks. I am currently the principal of PS 123Q Stemmer School in Queens, New York. I've been the principal now about 5 years. My background is I have about 30 years between education and the Department of Juvenile Justice. I'm an advocate for children. I've always been an advocate for children, and I will continue to be an advocate for children. When Tony, my frat brother, we go way back from the days when we were just hanging out and having fun and doing what we did. But over the years, I committed myself to working with. At one time, I used to say just working with my black boys. Now it's working with my black boys and black girls because there's a great demand for both right now. So I'm just here to lend a voice. Any questions, I'm open for all of the questions. I'm looking forward to the rich discussion this evening. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Antoinette Darden. I am a family leadership coordinator for the New York City Department of Education. I've been working in education for about 13 years. Prior to this role, I was a dean at a high school in the Bronx. I am an advocate for families and children. I'm also currently New York State PTA Leadership Development Coordinator, so I work with families and training parents to be advocates for their children in education. I grew up in the Bronx. I am a Bronx girl, so I understand a lot of the stories of the people, of the students in the city. So that's why I'm really passionate about working for and with children and families. And I am also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Thank you.
My name is Jeff. I'm glad to be here today because I think this is a very serious issue that we're dealing with now, especially with the politics that are going on and the things that are happening. So I am proud to be a part of this. Of course, I'm from Mount Vernon. I've been in the record business probably for over 28 years. during that time, hit records, discovered Mary J. Blige, worked on a lot of soundtracks from How Stella Got a Groove Back to The Hurricane, Eve's Bayou, and from that point on, I went on to start my own company, Soulville Records. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anthony C. Mitchell. I'm born here in White Plains, lived at 225 Grove Street until I was about 12, moved to Mount Vernon. Been active in the Mount Vernon community and also the Peekskill community since I've been, it's just my thing. I specialize in working with gangs. I worked homicide for 5 years in the Mount Vernon Police Department. I worked narcotics, worked with gangs, youth detective. I was the mayor's security detail. And I've been doing things in the community for youth for as long as I can remember. One of the things that I feel so strongly about is that the youth are our future, and we tend to forget that. We don't have that communication that we used to have. When I was younger, I guess we were forced into it because of the race issues. But now, we sit back and we expect the kids to know what we endured, what we went through, and it's not working. I'm a strong advocate for young people. I think adults make mistakes, young people are trying to learn, they're curious. So, I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I've been so for 34 years now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm proud. I mean, please sit, stop. And today I think this discussion is so important on what we need to do for tomorrow. And I think that we have sat back long enough, we've become dependent upon somebody else doing it for us. And as a community, we need to get together and start communicating more, not less. The phones have made us communicate less with one another. We need to sit down and really talk about a plan and a path which we need to go on. But we'll get more to that. It's time for you to sit down, let Andre.
How are you all? I'm Councilman Andre Wallace from Mount Vernon, representing Mount Vernon. Grew up in the Bronx. Still frequently visit the Bronx because I do a lot of work over there as well. It's in my community in Mount Vernon. My real trade is a contractor and developer. So usually you've seen New Rochelle wastewater treatment plant, Yonkers wastewater treatment, Greenburgh water supply, all that stuff. If you flush in your toilet or getting some water, most likely I had something to do with building that. Engineer, that's my trade, my background, my love. I'm glad to be here. I know this is a serious topic and issue in which we have to all address, and where do we really go from here is going to be very important. So I look forward to engaging in the conversation and, see what we could all come out with. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Moore. I also am from Mount Vernon, New York. I was born there, raised there. I currently reside in New Rochelle. I'm an assistant principal in the Bronx at PS 41. I started there as a teacher 6 years ago, and now I'm the assistant principal in the same school. That's my passion. On top of that, I started here as a dance teacher upstairs. Then it helped me want to help develop more young ladies and young men to be successful. So one of the things that I do have is I have a dance company in Mount Vernon, where we actually go from the ages of 4 up to 28 is my oldest dancer. And I also I'm a program director of the Girls to Women, which is a mentoring organization that really is all about mentoring young women to be women one day in the hopes of them becoming mentors. And so really my passion is, along with everyone else, helping them, shaping them at this age, through K and 5th grade, so that they can be successful young women from middle school on. And I believe that it begins there. And I am an awesome, amazing member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority.
Yeah, hello. I'm AJ Woodson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Black Westchester magazine. Former recording artist. Used to write for The Source, Vibe, Village Voice, various other entertainment publications. Came up with the idea with my brother Damon to do Black Westchester because as a news magazine, we don't have news magazines. We have enough entertainment publications. You know, there's like Time and Life and everything for white people and everybody that's not us. But we don't have news magazines to speak to us, to help us change the narrative, to get the information out to our people, and that's what drives us. So we also have a radio show on Sundays, weekly, People Before Politics, and like the name states, you know, we put the people first and get the information out, and we will be going print at the end of the summer.
I want to start with the educators. I want to start with the educators.
Well,
And
I mean, I'm gonna just speak from my experience as the principal of a school.
Yes.
This past year, one of the things that I really focused on was getting Black history into the curriculum. As the principal, I have that authority to say, listen, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna teach the kids about Black history. And there was a great deal of resistance about that. And, you know, the thing that I would talk about throughout the night, systematic racism that is within the educational system. I mean, we all know that there's racism everywhere, but in our education in the classroom, I'm sure everyone in here has experienced it. And for me, I said, this is what we're going to do. And, you know, and we did. You know, we started January off with Dr. Martin Luther King. I wanted to know more about I Have a Dream. I wanted to know about his life, his family, and his history. And then, you know, I bring in consultant. So to me, my thing was, hey, we have to educate the kids, one, but we also have to begin to educate the teachers that are within the schools. And it's not easy because sometimes they are the majority and they have not themselves learned about our history. It's been their history. You know, and when it comes to our history, they think it's not that important. They rather go do research, as I had issues with, why are we talking about Mexico? Why are we talking about Mexico when we should be talking about the great United States of America and all of the great things that African American has actually done right here in this country? You know, let's talk about that. And so, being in the position I'm in, I'm able to do that, and I try to get that out to my parents. All of you are parents, somewhere, somehow, and we need to make sure that we're involved and engaged. But that's, to me, you know, it starts with having that voice and having individuals like ourselves in the schools that can kind of push it, because they're not pushing it. They're not pushing it.
I actually agree with everything that they've said. Thank you. One of the things that the Chancellor has made an initiative in New York City is the Equity and Excellence Initiative. Equity and excellence really is all about that idea that we all come from different cultures. However, a lot of people are not aware of the different cultures and how do we build equity and excellence within the school. And the reason why a lot of the students are not successful is because we are not teaching to their own history. We're not reaching out to their backgrounds. We're not aware of those backgrounds because, like you said earlier, a lot of the teachers are not from those cultures. So if you can research equity and excellence, that's something you should, if you can look it up, that would be great. But the idea is, what we're doing currently in our school is actually having those uncomfortable conversations. I think it begins with that. Like talking about things that make me uncomfortable in my culture, you talking about things that make you uncomfortable in your culture, so that you can now begin to trickle that down into the classrooms. But if you can't have those conversations among adults, you will not be able to have those conversations among the children. I think it really just begins with that process. I've actually gone to workshops with people who are of different cultures, and you have to remember, yes, I know we're talking about our Black community, but there's also a large amount of students that are from the Arabic community. We have a lot of Latinos, and their cultures are not being addressed either. So we're coming into this world that we call America, which is a melting pot of all these different cultures, and no one's culture is being addressed. So how do we do that? We start speaking up about it, and we start with the teachers in the building, and they started with the APs. So we had a meeting as APs, and we sat down and had those uncomfortable conversations where somebody never felt that they were white. They really didn't know that they were white. Like, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, how do you not feel that way? Like, hello, like, I know I'm Black, how do you not feel that way? And it's because they only lived in a white culture. Until they came into a Black environment, they didn't realize how white they were. So I think that having those conversations, uncomfortable or not, and building, so what they're doing in the school system is they're showing us how to have those uncomfortable conversations, not just going there and saying, so tell me what you feel about being white, because that's not the way to do it, but they're training us on how to have those uncomfortable conversations, so that now when we teach about Black history, I'm not doing it because somebody told me to do it. I'm doing it because I'm coming with an understanding and a background based off of what other teachers are saying in the building about their culture. So it's not about the kids, only about the kids, but it's also about building that comfortable environment for those teachers, so they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm talking about Black stuff, but I'm white. And that really is the reason why a lot of people refuse to teach Black history.
Is there a need for more involvement from these entertainers back in the communities that they have came from? Not just talking about it or investing in companies, but actually investing in the community.
It is very important for these artists to become more involved in the community. But what happens is they are owned by corporations themselves. Although they are big names, they are backed by Live Nation, they're backed by Universal Records, and at that point, it's not so much they can do. I think what we have to do as a community of people is to get the ones who have the positive music, give them a platform so that they can be heard, because now all the bad stuff is being heard. There's no balance in music and there's no balance in life, basically, because it's all one or the other. You have all these rappers who are talking about calling women the B word, everybody sold drugs, everybody was making a whole lot of money, and that's not true. So I think as a community, we have to begin to give these artists who are like your Talib Kweli and all these other guys who have done a lot, Common, who's now in Hollywood now. But there's more rappers out there that do have that message, but we have to be able to allow them a platform so others can hear it.
Okay.
What Jeff was saying, what I find important is that when he was talking about the same situation, how we are the artists, but the dollars are coming from the white side. We need to flip that. And the problem is, I remember back in the days when we were back then with Chuck D and everybody else and stuff, Chuck stood up from Public Enemy, he did it his way. But a lot of people I brought in rap groups back in the past, and they would tell me stuff about that they're not Black enough, and I'd look at them, I'd be like, no, I'm the blackest guy in this room. Right. So what are y'all talking about? Right. But what they meant was, we're not degrading enough. We're not running around doing the stuff, degrading our own people, degrading our sisters, degrading our brothers, putting out the words of how we gonna kill this one, kill that one, shoot this one, shoot that one. That's all designed by the other side to keep us fighting in one area. When are we going to turn around and start to say, we need to run the companies, we need to shoot the videos, we need to write all this stuff? It's about the dollars. And we're not doing that. It's just like I say with women all the time. We are the biggest source of Black hair and everything, but every one of the stores is owned by a Korean. Why is that? We need to start taking control of our own destiny and what we want in life. Because until we do that, we are going to still keep going down the path that's self-destructing our own youth today for $1. And the dollar's coming in because we don't control that dollar. So when we start to control the dollars and start to focus on that side, okay, that is when we will start to change things around. And that is what's important. It's, you know, I look at this every single day and I watch everything that goes on. You know, I managed people before in sports too, like Derek Bell was one who used to play for the Mets, was one of my guys. But I know by hanging with all of the people, nobody's focusing on the money. They're only focusing on the sports side. We have all the talent in the world. Music, sports, entertainment, whatever you say. But we're not in control. So when we're not in control, the call is coming from somebody else. And then what it's doing is it forcing us to become against each other and do the wrong things and put out the wrong messages. We need to flip the script and get on the other side.
Can a Black commissioner or department head change the department by himself? Corey?
Most police officers, and Tone can attest, Mitch, most police officers, they want to be liked. I never wanted to be liked. Like, if you know, in 2013, they put a picture of me on the front page and said, call me a thug cop. on the front page of the newspaper because they didn't like me. So I never was about being liked. I was there to do a job, bridge that gap between community and police. And what Mitch said earlier, the youth are so important. But you got to understand that the youth are 20% of our population, but 100% of our future. So if you're not about the youth, and I wasn't about having parties, I didn't hang out with cops. I hung with my boys who I grew up with, I committed crimes with, sold drugs with and stuff, and we all changed our lives. Those are my friends. So to answer the question, can a black police commander change? Yes, but you gotta make sure you put the puzzles and pieces around you.
If we reach out to our youth, we can change the direction of them. We gotta stop ostracizing them, thinking that they already know something. We have to get more involved in law enforcement. We have to learn it. We have to become the policemen, and we taught our community, don't trust the police, don't do, but we have to if we're gonna change it. I employ young people all the time. Take the test. Why are you letting them get the tax dollars that you're paying to protect you? I'm a black man. I prefer to have a black cop that has a sense of belonging, a sense of community, protect me than someone that comes from another community that really never seen a black person. Because I can tell you right now in Mount Vernon, the department is about 60% white. The city is 60% black. Now I figured that out. And it's been that way with the black politicians in place. So I'm a person that looks at things and stands back and say, how can we change these dynamics? You arrested young people, so therefore they get a record. When they go to take the thing, did you ever get arrested? Yeah. So they want to automatically disqualify them. But the same thing, now don't get me wrong, white kids get arrested too. But their excuse when they read the report is, oh, he made a few mistakes. Oh, he's a career criminal. That's the difference. And we don't understand that we have to be involved in this system to change the system. You got to stop telling young black men and women, don't become a police officer, because if it's ever going to change, we got to be in it to change it. You know, they are watching our backs. Who do you want to watch? You know, I'm an avid fan of Malcolm X, and he said we need to police our own community. And I believe that. We got to go through their system, but we have to be conscious enough to recognize how to change it and how to arrest. In my years, all my years of policing, I never got a civilian complaint. And I made homicide arrests, drug arrests, juvenile arrests, all of that. Because I treated everybody like they were my family. And if they deserved to get handcuffed and put down to the ground, I wasn't trying to hurt them. Because I understood their anger, their frustration, because I may be going away for a long time. But we get caught up in their mentality trying to prove that we want to be accepted by them.
Right.
Instead of recognize. They don't do that to their own.
They don't.
You don't see white people, unless they do something real crazy, and like shoot with a cop, but you don't see them all distorted. It be our own that be doing it, and they jump in. So, is there a problem? Yes, it is a problem. It's a lack of self. It's a lack of knowledge. It's a lack of procedures, policies, and it's a lack of tactic. To me, anytime you do that, you're setting off a bad precedent, because eventually somebody's going to come back and they're going to be so scared they're going to shoot a cop. And that's the reality of it. Corey, I know you got.
Black Lives Matter. What does that mean in education?
Actually, we had a controversial situation that actually took place in my school around Black Lives Matter. Our students actually wore Black Lives Matter t-shirts, and it caused a lot of conversation that we never expected. But what it really means in education is that the kids, there's an identity crisis. I don't know if you're aware that these kids, because of society, social media is their identity. What society depicts is their identity. I think in education, it's all about letting them know who they are, whose they are, and who they can become. And I think that, and I was going to mention earlier about encouraging everybody to educate children about their history. Don't just leave it to the teachers, because they might not say the things that they need to hear. They may sugarcoat it or just say the things that they're comfortable saying. So if I could encourage you all, my grandfather taught me Black history. I didn't need to go to school to get Black history. I walked in the door knowing my African American history. So my identity was already determined before walking in that school. So for us right now, we do believe in teaching behavior. So it's all about teaching behavior, teaching who you are, teaching characteristics that help them determine who they are able to become. So I think that right now, Black Lives Matter, the reason why the controversy was there was because people don't even know who they're teaching. They have no idea who's sitting in front of them. The things that they're dealing with. A lot of our students, no mattresses. There's 8 kids in the house. There's no food. The situations are very uncomfortable. Then they come in the classroom, they misbehave, and the teacher's like, get out. That can't happen. Because I need you to understand that their lives do matter. And there's so much more that's happening beyond what you can actually see that you need to think about, you know what, I don't know what happened to you last night. So I'm going to encourage you to still come into this classroom. My job is to teach you and you are going to learn. And really, that's all we're pushing. Black Lives Matter means that their education matters and every kid is going to be held accountable no matter who you are. You better learn this. They know that I don't play no games. They know I check their math tests every time they take one. And they're like, oh, Miss Moore, I just didn't get a chance to study. No, you have to study. And I guess what my part in that is, if the teachers are not holding them accountable, me being the assistant principal, the supervisor, I'm gonna hold you accountable. I know what your life is going to be, and it's not gonna end up in jail. You're not gonna end up in the streets, and you're not gonna be homeless. So get in there and go learn what you need to learn, study, and pass that test. And that's really all it has to be, understanding that they need to know who they are, and they're expected to become somebody successful.
I think that Black Lives Matter in education means, especially for our younger generation, means that they have value, means that they're important, and means that they have a voice and they deserve more. I think that a lot of young people today can definitely get really caught up in social media, and it's all about what's on the surface. But I think Black Lives Matter really shows young people that it's what is their character, it's what's inside that really matters to them. And it also means that they have a voice. And I say that there's one, I work with 16 schools, there's one in particular that is struggling after 45 was elected. A principal, a white principal, said something really just silly, and just indicated that she didn't vote for Hillary. And the kids there took that as, how could you vote for him? And you work in our school, in our community. And ever since that moment, it's been a firebed in that one school. I probably spend most of my time there than in any of my 16 schools. They've had a sit-in. They plan next week to have a walkout because they do not believe that principle is for them. And they're not going to take it. They've emailed the chancellor a variety of times. I'm actually going to meet with some of the chancellor's people next week. So this has sparked something. That movement has sparked something so great in our children that it is amazing, and sometimes I have to stifle my amazingness because I still work for a superintendent at the same time. So it is a balance of supporting young people that are saying, we're not going to take it, we deserve more, we want someone in our building that understands us, and if they don't, they want to understand us and they care about us. So for me, Black Lives Matter in education has sparked the flame in our kids, and it is really great and it's really important, and we just have to keep stoking that fire. Thank you.
Wow, Black Lives Matter. I'm gonna talk from a different perspective. This whole thing about Black Lives Matters really came out about accountability, you know, with the police, you know, a level of accountability, you know, everything from the shooting, you know, who was accountable for this particular incident? Was it the victim? You know, was it the shooter? Was it the community? You know, who's responsible? For me as a leader, you know, one of the things that I'm constantly sharing with my staff and my people is that we have to be accountable at every level. And that level of accountability as an educator for myself, and I'm gonna be honest with everyone in this room, it starts at home. You know, it starts at home, right? And what I share with my parents, if I see that level of accountability at home, when your child comes in here with Mr. Hooks, he or she is going to get that same level of accountability. I'm going to be just that responsible as their principal, as their father, you know, as their mentor, as their leader. This is what I'm bringing it to the table. And I establish a level of expectation. You know, so when we think about Black Lives Matter, you know, think about it from that point of accountability. You know, think about that point of responsibility, because
Right.
these are what these young minds we're talking about in the street. Who's going to be responsible? You know, our expectations. And these are the things that I'm constantly pushing within my school structure. You know, when them little boys, I call them my little boys, when they come in there, because they're all young, Black, brown, you know, looking for someone to guide them, looking for someone to love them, looking for someone to tell them what to do, but really looking for someone to hold them responsible, looking for someone to hold them accountable. Believe it or not, at the early age of 6, they understand. They understand. Now, on the other side of that, you know, I sit down with my staff and talk about, you just can't put a kid in a small program because he or she, you know, and I'm talking about special education, he or she is having difficulty with reading. We have to look at everything. So on the other side of that in education, as the leader of a school, I have to make sure everyone is accountable. You know, I have to make sure, because sometimes my parents, they might come in and they don't really know what's about to happen. So for me, it's about accountability. It's about responsibility. It's about setting those high expectations so that every child matters. Black, brown, white, you name it, every child matters. And I think that's the way it should be. And I think as we continue to have this kind of dialogue, we stick together, it will be that.
That's
even
right.
as we hold Mr. 45 responsible and accountable.
That's right. Councilman, Black Lives Matter to Black politicians.
You know, and then you have politicians that are executives running up at the higher offices that cut everything that comes to our communities purposely. But then we go out and vote for them.
That's right.
Now the problem is this: we need to learn to vote our interests.
Thank you.
What matters to us. If Black Lives Matter to us, then we need to go out there and march and get more money for our police station. Because those are the ones policing our communities and looking over our children. You know? And I look in Mount Vernon and I'm looking at a lot of other communities and I notice that they're getting all the stuff that we don't get. We're just now getting body cameras as we're getting donations and all of that stuff, raising money ourselves, when everybody else has it. Why are they getting the grants and we're not? What are they doing? You know? And I always say the same, you know, if you don't speak up, there's no community in all of New York State that, like Mount Vernon, that can have 5 or 4 bridges that has been out for 10 years. That you can't cross and they just put up a roadblock and be like, go around the other way. What if somebody has an emergency, got to get across? You got to go all the way down, around through 10th Avenue, come all the way back up and go around this way to get to the hospital. But meanwhile, I could see over here where they were doing it in Scarsdale, they put the whole new bridge up. They put one up in Eastchester over here. You know, you just get a little pothole in Pelham and like you think it's some outrageous emergency. Everybody come down, even the fire department out there watching, make sure the hole blows. So why are they getting it and we're not? It's because we're not voting our interests. And I always say the same thing. If you ain't rich and you ain't like upper class white, why the hell you a Republican? It don't make sense. It's not your interest. They don't have the same interest. Their interest is about making sure that they keep their wallets fat and Wall Street is going. Our interest is where we gonna get the programs, because you threw everybody in our community, but you gave us no service to go along with that. So we have to start focusing on those things and turn around. If it matters and you want it to matter, then it has to matter for you. And if you sit back and you say it's not my problem, you're gonna find out later that it is your problem. It's all of our problems. So we all gotta take the same step, we all gotta move up, and we all gotta start to speak out when you see something that's unjust. And that is how we're gonna move our communities forward. That is when you can say it matters, because whatever matters has to matter to you. What matters to this gentleman matters to me. What matters to all of you there matters to me. Because we have the same interests, because we're in the same place. So we have to start to look at those things and address those things as a movement, I would say. Create that possibility of what we want like other communities do, and live into that possibility and go forward and make that happen. We don't do that, and we need to start doing that as a people, as one. Not as a bunch of scattered folks, but as one. That's how we get it done.
We have to get more activated and more involved in the community and not be okay with somebody else doing it for us. We keep letting other people do it for us. And then the people who do it for us, again, we don't hold them accountable. We don't understand the issues. We don't know the legislator that's coming up. We don't know the bills that are happening. We don't educate ourselves on the things that are happening to us and what the people we vote for support. We don't call, we don't email, we don't knock on doors, we don't go to their offices, but other communities do that. They know their names. I see it all the time when I'm in different circles doing like board member things. They know their names because they actually say, you know what, I got an issue, I'm gonna go to Congressman such and such door.
Write a letter.
Right? Write a letter, email, get a group together, we're gonna phone bank because this is the issue that's important to us. We need to be really more engaged, more activated. Again, we have to be at the ballot boxes all the time, but not just pulling the lever, but understanding who we're voting for, even if they're our color. That, just because they're black doesn't mean they're for us. That's the other thing. Just because they're black doesn't mean they're for us. That's why it's so important to understand what their platform is, what their history is before we cast that ballot for them. And again, I would say if you're unhappy about that person, either you run or someone that you know would be really good, you push them on and you support them as well. Thank you.
How can media change the perception of black people and influence black people to change themselves? But before you answer that question, Sandra Blackwood, I want to, when we started Black Westchester, the county press, and hey, I'm on the front too. Thank you. But this was an influence because I grew up reading the county press. Yeah, I think everybody in here grew up reading the county press. And the first thing we made clear to people that we said, we ain't battling the county press. We standing on the county press's shoulders because this would influence me, and we went to internet. But this will influence me, and this will, I think, influence every young people. I think it still influences young people, and we thank you. We thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very important for us to own everything. It's like I worked at MCA Records for 7 years. And during that time, right when I got in '96, there were a lot of black executives. So we all had to be held accountable for each other. You had older guys who were there longer than we were, and they would tell us when we were doing things wrong. First thing they did was got rid of all the old executives. Okay, so after they did that, we were in charge. And at that point, it was all about making money. It was all about having hit records. It was all about promotion and marketing, getting those budgets, taking that money, and doing a little bit for the artists. And then it became a point too, because I remember being from Uptown Records. I come from Uptown Records. And during that time, we used to go to Uptown every day like it was a job. We would just go up there and hang out, find out what's going on. And then when I got on the executive side, the artists only wanted to come to my office because none of the people in the record labels had any regard for them at all. They didn't know who they were half the time. The white people run over to me, who was that? I said, that's Casey and JoJo. Oh my God, that's them? Yeah, they just sold 5 million records. You don't know who they are. So they took all that out. Now I'm gonna go back a little bit to the 70s and the 60s when black executives first started out with your Gamble and Huffs. And at that time, when they got rid of black executives, the first thing all the black executives would do was get together and go to the white man and say, why did you get rid of him? This man has a wife, he has a family to take care of, why did you get rid of him? And they would bring him back. When we got into position, when they fired somebody, first thing we do, yo, I heard so-and-so got fired. Yo, I heard so-and-so got, so no, we didn't have anybody fighting for us at the time. So you get to now what's going on when you start asking that question about Black Lives Matter and how we all think. Entertainers think basically about entertainment. They never thought about the business aspect of it. So when they got money, it was like, I made it. So it's forget everybody else. The key phrase in the music business is, I gotta feed my family. That's what you hear when they think that they know they're doing something wrong, but in their minds, I gotta feed my family. And when they tell me that, the first thing I say, Corey, is what you feeding them? Poison? Because now what you're doing is poisoning not only the community, but the youth coming up today. And now as far as music is concerned with the Black Lives Matter, they can't do anything because, like I said, they're owned by corporations. But what we can do is support these new guys. It's a guy named Kendrick Lamar. He's really speaking to the youth today. You got Chance the Rapper. He's talking about God and those sort of things. So it's those artists that we got to support. And a lot of these guys, with the exception of Kendrick Lamar, Chance the Rapper, they're doing this all independently. Right. So we have to start also supporting these 4 Square Mile projects. So we have to control not only the media, but we have to control our voice. It's very important for us to control our voice in the community and also be able to stand up for something, because it's going to be difficult. I stood up in the record business. I remember they had what they call a lyric committee. A lyric committee would go over all the lyrics of the artists that were in the record company. So they would go through the lyric. What is it? The subject matter. Now, it was 3 things, and that's when I said it's time to go. They had Chinky Eye was one of them in the rapper song. Chew, C-H-E-W, and then nigga. Chinky Eye had to come out because it was negative towards people who were Asian. Chew sounded too much like Jew, so that had to come out. Nigga was fine. So at that point, I knew at that point what was going on. And that's what I say with the music, it's not that there's no good music out there. They don't want you to hear the music that's good, because then that will influence you to do better. Right. So when you hear all these guys that are hustlers, so-called hustlers, and you know, get money and all that stuff, that's all put out there so these kids can then want to do that. And then, like you said, get arrested, get a record, and they can't do anything. So it's very
All right, I'm involved in politics, and that's why I'm here with the councilman. And everything that you say up here is true. And one of you guys said something about the money, the finances. That's the key to everything, is the economics. If we control our economics, then we can control how our communities are dealt with. Because last year we spent over $1 trillion, black dollars. So that's important to understand. And leadership is to change the economics. You know, so the question I want to ask you guys is this: what are y'all doing to change the economics? Because by doing that, we put everything in perspective to make change for the black community. So that's my question. What are you doing to change the economics?
You know, not everybody has a business, but not everybody supports the black business.
Amen.
And that's where to begin the economics, we got to start there. But we also got to give good service. See, a lot of the problems that come about is self-created problems. Let's create our own jobs. Let's create our own opportunities. It frustrates me when I see the things that are going on, and okay, they'll have a meeting. I'm down for it. I go shooting out there 100 miles. Dave, let's go, man. Yo, Dave, come on, let's go, man. AJ, Jeff, Andre, Corey, let's go. Get there. That's all that's there.
All the time.
And it be issues that don't affect us.
Right.
It affect the people in the community.
Right.
So what I tell you people, I know it's difficult, but you gotta think about your ancestors, what they endured. We gotta stop thinking about the immediate gratification and think about what our ancestors sacrificed. They knew that they wasn't gonna enjoy the fruits. We have to continue to think that way.
Thank you.
We gotta continue to think that way because our children will die if we don't.
That's right.
You keep getting caught up in this immediate gratification about, oh, I gotta have my nails done, I gotta have my hair. But the boy ain't learning well in school. The girl is out around the corner kissing the boys because of what she's seen in the video. We're not taking the time that we need to put into our youth to change the direction of where they want us to go.
But everybody here is coming from a different place.
Yes.
And the question is, how can we mobilize? Because everybody here knows the problem, everybody here is interested in making the change. But we as a community have to work together. I mean, for example, recently I read, out in the Mormon community, everybody there has a list of all their representatives and their phone numbers. One person starts the call. Everybody gets the message and everybody makes the calls. So we need to have that type of communication system in place also, and not just individual. Oh, the Omegas are doing it, the Alpha Kappa Alpha is doing it. We all have to work together so that the word gets out to everybody all the time. And I'd like to know who here is working on mobilizing
Well,
as a unit.
I'm gonna say this could start here because what we have to put together, we actually have to put together a council of different representatives from different black communities. You know, as Mr. Farrakhan said, we are colonies, right? And what happens to a colony when they come together and create a nation? So we need representatives from each black community to form a council. And then we decide what our interests are, whether it's locally or county.
As a young person in this community, how can I invest in the black community and how can I help?
Start here.
Right. Let me just say this to you, young man. You're just volunteering, giving your time, giving your service, and just finding someone like Mr. Sledge here, just to be able to sit down and talk with him. Some of us have been very fortunate to have strong leaders, strong leaders. And in order to become a leader, you got to find one. And this is a man that you can sit down and talk with. It's something that we were just talking about. I'm gonna keep this quick. Changing the economics. It's about education. Because you can't change anything if you don't know when you got change. Because when you got change, you don't know if I should invest it or should I spend it. So when we start talking about changing economics, there's a lot to that. But I say to you, young man, find someone that have that passion and commitment to make a difference. And then you will become that difference maker. That's how you get back. That's how you get involved. And stay focused.
When we think about this, our whole system is set up for the people, by the people. You're the people. When are you going to set the policy? That's the question.
Mitch, Corey,